Welcome in once again on another Johnnie Torch Live broadcast. Here we are once again in stately Torch Tower looking over the fair metropolis below on, let's see, Torch News Roundup number 154, if you can believe, and Torch News Roundup, and Johnnie Torch Live number 176. That's the spirit of 76. Well, here we are once again, going to broadcast a little bit early today because I actually have to be out of here in about an hour and a half, so I wanted to make sure I had plenty of time to get in another edition of the Torch News Roundup and Johnnie Torch Live, the only way to spend your Saturday. And, I don't know, we don't got a whole lot to talk about, but as per tradition, I'll get long-winded and go off on a tangent that I'm sure will take up a good 20 minutes or so at some point during the broadcast. As always, God love you for being here. Thank you so very much to all the faithful followers, watchers, subscribers. Just picked up another sub I seen just before the broadcast, so thank you very much. If you are indeed watching this live, you have the chat room open for any questions. Let's see, let's take care of all business. Let's see, the link to my Twitter page is in the description below, so you could follow me on Twitter and see what crazy shenanigans I get up to there. Also, check out my comic, The Adventures of Bullets, Bourbon, Private Eye, which you can see right here on the screen, the cover to our latest issue, When the Night Comes, which is a 60-page graphic novel. We put it together, we've done it, and it's really my magnum opus. I don't want to sound like I can't possibly top it, but it is the work that I'm most proud of. It's the team-up of Carrot Top and Pencil Neck, Bullets Bourbon's two most dangerous rivals, coming up against him with the fate of the free world hanging in the balance. Of course, it's also a tale of humor, as Detective Scotch, his private eye rival, comes up against him and causes all the hilarious shenanigans you can expect. We also have a story of unrequited love with Desiree Miller over there to the left of the screen. And it's just probably the best well-rounded story that I've crafted as of yet. Of course, there is many more issues to come in the series. We're working on remastering the second story, the second and third issue, which is called Knock on Wood, which has another famous cover. I've always shown that cover because I like that cover as well. But check out the link in the description below, and you'll find out all you need to know about The Adventures of Bullets, Bourbon, Private Eye. I've been meaning to do another stream that's dedicated solely to the show, to the book. And I'm still working on proofreading it, which is, like, again, I say this all the time, it's a very long and arduous process. Proofreading is not a fun endeavor, and it's taken me a long time, but I've learned, which is part of the reason why there's a remaster, I've learned if you haven't your total attention on proofreading, it's just a useless endeavor, because you have to be paying attention to it constantly and making sure that the sentences make sense grammatically and that the spelling is correct and so forth. So if I have to take extra time there, I don't mind taking extra time there. But then after that, we're going to remaster the first issue. So again, a lot of work ahead of me before we can get into issue 7, which is where my passion is. I would really like to get to work on issue 7 right away, but I really feel my readers would appreciate more having these stories remastered before I get into further adventures, because, that's part of the problem. I started off before I was ready, and I've always said, don't wait until you're ready, because you never really get there. But, there comes a certain point when you have to look back and say, look, I want this to be a uniform process. I want all the issues to look the same. I want them to have the same quality so that the spelling errors from the first 2 or 3 issues are fixed, and make sure the coloring is consistent. Because, as I said, I've had to tweak the coloring a little bit. The skin tone, especially, was pretty dark, and I was having problems, coloring characters with different skin pigment. And so that I made the skin tone a little bit lighter for Bullets and the primary cast. Now I can create other characters that have darker skin tone without it looking like it's pretty much the same. Just different things like that. Things that I hope, anyway, will improve the project, visually. So, that's it for the spiel. Thank you very much for enduring it. But I truly wish you'll check out The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye. A couple of preview pages up in the link in the description below. And let's see. Also, been pretty busy. Didn't get too much done. I was entering a image for Drawn and Quartered, which I didn't really get a chance to color it yet because I scanned it in black and white, so I have to go back now and like rescan it for color because all the color is coming up grayscale. So I want to get that on my Twitter page pretty soon. It's of the Black Canary, which of course is one of my favorite characters. But that was a lot of fun to do. I don't really partake in that kind of stuff because I feel like my calling is a bit more as a storyteller. I would say I'm a writer that draws more than an artist that writes, if that makes any sense. But that's what I mean. I'm more for the story, and the composition of just a pinup is always more time-consuming, believe it or not, than plotting a story, for me anyway. So with the 2 hours or whatever it was that I was allotted to do the Black Canary, I probably only took like an hour of it and just sort of posted it as is, but I'd like to tweak it, fix it up a little bit, and see if I could color it. It'll really look good. I got a couple of pinups already on Twitter if you check them out. I guess I got one of Rogue from X-Men and one of Ms. Marvel, which I also thought came pretty good. Also, I was at Foxborough this week to watch My Boys the Patriots. Now, me and my brother have been planning this for a long time because we've never gone to Foxborough, believe it or not, to see a Patriots game. And so we put together a trip, and we were really worrying that it was going to be a monsoon because a nor'easter was supposedly going to hit the East Coast here. But no, we had a clear night. It was very nice. And, of course, the Patriots beat up on the Giants as we were hoping for. So go Pats. And I also want to mention it's the Columbus Day weekend. So I hope everybody out there is going to enjoy yourselves. Hopefully you get a 3-day weekend. And, remember Italiano. Remember Christopher Columbus and his sailing for the New World. All right, here we go now. Let's start the show in earnest. Torch News Roundup number 154. We begin. I as well as last week, I spent a couple of minutes before the show looking at the Birds of Prey trailer. Today, I spent a couple of minutes looking at the Picard trailer again, just to have it fresh in my mind. So let's take a look at the Picard trailer. I don't have a lot of images. We're just going to stick with this one image, but I'm going to talk about everything that got my mind, interested in it. Now, as I always preface when I talk about Star Trek, I'm basically a TOS guy. Captain Kirk, Mr. Spock. I really didn't go too far into the rest of the Trek Nation. I watched Next Gen pretty faithfully for the first 3 or 4 seasons. Then I kind of dipped out, came back and forth to it over the course of, whatever the show ran, 7 years, I think it was. But, I wouldn't call myself a dyed-in-the-wool Trekkie for post-TOS stuff. So with that as a caveat, I guess, I really liked what I seen here. I mean, this, I've heard some, conflicting reviews from people who are, I guess, more dyed-in-the-wool Trekkies than myself, but it looks pretty much like what I was hoping for a Picard show. Jean-Luc is coming back out of, I guess, retirement. We don't really know exactly what he's been up to, I guess, other than just running the vineyard and stuff. Something that got my attention and something that kind of sparked my curiosity is the way that the trailer opens, where it seems like he's dreaming about Data / B4. Now, if you remember Nemesis, this could be Data, this could be B4. It could be a dream of Data. It could be B4 who has sort of adapted to a sort of Data level. Not sure. But I don't know, is he dreaming of Data? Is this something that is not going to be a factor in the series? Is Data coming back? I don't know. I'm not sure. It would be funny if the entire show was just a dream of Picard's, that he just dreamed he went back into service, that he met Data, that he was, going back to seeing Will and Troy. I don't know. I mean, would they punk us like that? I'm not sure, but that's something that kind of occurred to me when I saw it. That could be the last scene, when he's waking up with number 1 there. Well, that doesn't particularly sound right, but the dog is named number 1. Is that sort of like a reverse, the dog is Indiana? Yeah, I guess so. All right, so anyway, yeah, it looks visually very good. I thought it looked very good. The effects, are, I don't want to say on par with next-gen movies. I think, if anything, maybe it's a little bit more sophisticated than the next-gen movies. The action scenes there. What looks like a planetary attack or something is going on. They're showing, this was curious to me as well, they're showing, it looks like androids with, like, tattoos marked on their heads or something. Is this sort of like the next phase of the evolution of the Data Project or something? That's kind of interesting. Jerry Ryan is in it as well, I think with a bigger part than most of these other next-gen actors. I don't know a whole lot about her character. I think she's called 7 of 9. And I thought she was kind of like a very staid and kind of stoic character from what I remember of the few times I've watched. I don't know what she was on, Voyager, I think it was. But she seems a lot more human here. I don't know. Like, again, somebody could correct me if I'm wrong about that. So it looks like an evolution of her character as well. Of course, the highlight, I think, of a lot of Trek fans was seeing Will Riker and Jean-Luc return together in a scene, and they, it looks like, of course, he and Troy are married. Will and Troy are married, and they have at least one child. And it looks like they're enjoying the life that Captain Kirk was trying to enjoy in the Nexus. They got his house, it looks like, and I think he's making his famous sweet potato casserole or something. And enjoying retirement as well. From the looks of it, it looks like it's just going to be a cameo. Like I said, that was kind of my appeal to the show, would be to bring back the original cast. So far, no sign of Gates McFadden, Geordie LaForge and Worf. I want to see all of them, come back. But I think this is probably going to be more heavily leaning on just Picard's journey with the new crew. The mysterious young woman, which I see some people poo-pooing that. As I've said before, I don't know, if you've heard me say this before in one of my previous broadcasts talking about Picard, that's like a time-tested, plot that you go to, the mysterious young woman. I don't really see that as a negative. Obviously it depends if, how they handle it, but I'm not ready to dismiss it over that. A lot of people thinking it's going to be a Mary Sue character and so forth. I'm just going to wait and see. I don't have any notes, so I'm just trying to go by memory. Let's see. The guy from The Three Musketeers is in this, I just realized as well. He played Aramis. I can't remember the actor's name. But yeah, he's a good actor, so I'm looking forward to seeing him as well. It was The Musketeers, right? That's what they called that show. They didn't technically call it The Three Musketeers, so I don't want you looking up IMDb and getting it wrong, but yeah, The Musketeers. So, yeah, I mean, I hope this is not the end. I mean, I'm not sure how many episodes this is going to run, but there obviously has to be an end game for this storyline, and I think that's the reason why they're coming back and doing it. So it's like, we didn't end with Nemesis. Let's kind of try to go out on a high note, because I know a lot of people weren't fond of Nemesis, myself included. But I mean, this hopefully will, kind of be the I don't want to say epitaph. That sounds bad, but I don't know, the coda of the show proper, that everybody gets a fine send off, and you know, we get to see them living happily ever after in most cases. I mean, I don't think, I mean, at least I hope Picard doesn't die in action. That would be kind of sad at this point, because let's face it, I mean, you know, Patrick Stewart, he's, you know, he's well along in years now, so he can't be an action hero, you know, to the extent he was in the next gen movies. So I hope they don't just sort of kill him off in some sort of, you know, just bland fashion, just to say that we saw Picard die, you know, sort of like we did with Kirk. You know, it was like, I kind of, you know, it was like we were just expecting him to die in Generations. It's like Kirk's whole purpose there was just to die in Generations, so we could say we saw how Captain Kirk died. And it's almost the same thing what they're doing in Star Trek, I think, to an extent. So, alright, let me know what you think in the comments below. That is my review on the Picard trailer. And this show is coming out, I believe, January 23rd. So, there you have it. Alright, next up, this is another one that I don't have any proper notes for, but I'm going to take a couple of seconds here to talk about the Batwoman pilot. As I said last week, I usually try to talk at least about the pilot of the first season episode, and then eventually I might talk about like mid-season, or, you know, at some point, and then the season finale. But since this is a new show, we'll start off with talking about Batwoman. Honestly, it wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be, and I think I'm seeing that's what a lot of people are saying. I think, you know, a lot of people are saying that maybe the PR department should be fired and they just put together some terrible promos. But I think the opposite is true. I think what they were trying to do was to appeal to the SJW crowd, try to appeal to the, you know, let's woke it up, and, you know, and get them on board. And CW is good at that. They pander to a certain demographic, whether it be the LGBTQ, whether it be the shippers, you know, and so on and so forth. So I think that's what that whole promotional phase was to try to get people on board that were of the demographic and saying, look, this is going to be fine. What the show really is, though, is they're trying to just basically play it straight. So I don't think the show failed on the level that I thought it would fail. I don't think they abused us with the LGBTQ references and so forth. They didn't, like, overplay that. Of course, there's a lesbian romance at the heart of it because, you know, Batwoman's a lesbian, but they didn't really do an Alex Danvers with it, where, you know, the whole, I think it was second season of Supergirl was basically her coming out to just about everybody she knew, her accepting it, her trying to get into a relationship, and this and that. And it felt like an after-school special, and that's kind of what I think many of us feared. Or at least in my case, I'll speak for myself, that's what I feared. Another after-school special, where it was just following her, you know, that's what, like, SJW comics are, where it's just it's like an after-school special just to sort of indoctrinate the normies and say, this is what it's like, a slice of life, or something like that. But beyond her being kicked out of the military for the don't ask, don't tell policy that ended a couple of years ago, I think. But it was put in by Clinton for, like, I don't know, 20 years or something. And that was pretty much the only time that they kind of you know, made an issue out of it. They didn't really make an issue out of her being a lesbian at all. So again, I can't complain about it being preachy, which was my biggest fear, I think. Let's see, my first big criticism of the show is the age difference between Kate Kane being the titular heroine, and Bruce Wayne. Apparently, Bruce Wayne was Batman back when Kate was still, I don't know, I think 7 or 8 years old. I forget how old she was in this. I don't think they established it. But so the story goes that allegedly the Joker, of course they don't really show it, but allegedly the Joker smashed a school bus into Kate Kane's family car, and Kate and her sister and mother life is put in jeopardy. crashing off a bridge. Batman shows up, tries to save the car by, you know, using the bat grappling hook and gun and all that action. And he basically fails. They don't really explain why. Somehow he didn't attach this thing properly, and the car goes off. And I don't remember. I guess only Kate survives, allegedly. Her sister is nowhere to be found. Again, spoilers if you don't want to hear the rest of the... I think at this point it's been a week. I'm late on this compared to everyone else. So, but if you haven't seen it yet, which some people haven't, I haven't seen Flash, Black Lightning, and you know, whatever else debuted this week. I haven't had the time. But I did see, you know, Batwoman. So if you don't want to hear any more about Batwoman, obviously this is the time to dip out. But apparently the villain of the piece, Alice, is going to be Batwoman's sister, and she survives this crash and grows up to be a little loony. I actually liked this character a lot. I think this was my favorite part, pretty much, of the show, was that she felt like a Batman villain, Alice. She felt like one of those loonies that, you know, they to their credit, Gotham tapped into that kind of loony character that it seems a little campy for real life, but then again is, you know, kind of grounded enough not to be a complete wackadoo, you know. So I thought she was very good, Alice. We're introduced to Luke Fox, which, again, I don't really know too much about the Batman family. What I really know about Luke Fox is that he was in the Bad Blood animated movie, I believe. That's what I know about Batwoman mostly as well, is from the Bad Blood movie, and he is the son of Lucius Fox. They play him here to be a comical character. He's kind of nerdy and nebbish and so on and so forth. I don't think that's comic accurate, so I'm not really, you know, but I'm not too familiar with the character, so I was willing to let that pass. Anyhow, so they also show that Kate was in the Army, we know that. She also has done, like, endurance testing, endurance training. She's, like, under the water in a frozen over pond, and she's training with some, I don't know, I'm guessing Eskimo-type guru. And so this is supposedly kind of like preparing us for her being able to take on the mantle of Batman. And in her pursuits, she uncovers the Batcave, finds the suits and everything, which I thought was very strange, because there was, of course, that famous line from the trailers and stuff of the suit will be perfect when it fits a woman. It looks like it already fit a woman. It didn't look like he had to do anything to that suit, because I think CW didn't have the money to, you know, make a Batman suit. And then even when you see the flashbacks of Batman, you see him from the back, and it really, you know, I don't think they prepared an actual Batman suit. So I wouldn't expect to see Batman on the show anytime soon. They seem to be following the pattern of Supergirl Season 1, where you see him from the back or in a blurry image, in a distorted view. So, I mean, that was another thing that was a little difficult for me to hang with, was the shadow of the bat looms large, you know what I mean? I think everybody wants to see Batman. It's going to be the same way it was with Supergirl, where you kind of have to give us the bat at some point, but it's more difficult here because if Batwoman is taking care of Gotham, I don't see, you know, it's different from Supergirl, where she's taking care of National City. She's across the country, and so she's got her own turf to stake out. They could have gone with something like that if they didn't want this question to keep coming up of Batman, where's Batman? Because you could always say, well, he's over in Gotham City. You can't say that now, because Batwoman is taking care of Gotham City. So again, you're going to find, I think, a lot of fan complaints at some point saying, well, where's Batman? Where's Batman? When is he ever going to show up? And when he does show up, he's basically going to put her out of business. Unless they have some kind of plans to move her on to another, you know, jurisdiction. All right, so let's move on with this here. Doug Ray Scott, the man who would be Wolverine, plays her father. Again, they don't really preach about it. He sort of has like an offhand comment that, you know, I love you no matter what. Paraphrasing, but the idea is that He doesn't have a problem with her being a lesbian. So again, it doesn't come off too preachy or anything. My second problem with the show is the idea. It's sort of like Luke in Star Wars sequel trilogy. You've got this concept where, you know, the female character has to stand up and pick up the slack for the male character who should be doing his job but isn't. He's absentee, so she's going to pick up the slack for him. But don't worry, because she's already good enough to be Batman. You know, like I said, they've already built up that she can fit right into the role. But you got to remember, Bruce Wayne had 15 years of training. Depending on, you know, what age you think he was Batman. I think traditionally he became Batman when he was 30. They did that with Batman Begins. Even if you want to kind of fudge it a little bit and say he was a little younger, he still had a dozen or so years of intense training, going all over the world and studying all kinds of techniques and martial arts. It's kind of tough to see her just step into this role and be as good as she is. She knows how to use the tech, something that, you know, basically is completely foreign to anybody but Batman, supposedly. She knows of, you know, combat in that kind of suit. You know, it's like, I don't know if a flash forward might have worked better if they would have said, all right, she'd been practicing with this gear for, you know, 6 months or something, and we could maybe get a little bit more of a handle on how she became so good with this. I don't know. At this point, it just seems, you know, it seems a little Mary Sue-ish. It's playing from that Ray playbook. You know what I mean? You know, that's kind of the problem I had as well. Again, I going back to my first problem, I don't know where they're going to get Bruce Wayne being like 58 years old. If we're supposed to believe that Kate is like maybe 30, how old is Bruce? I mean, he was already Batman when she was 8 years old, for crying out loud, and that is like 25 years ago, maybe, something like that. When he does come back, exactly how old is he going to be? Is he going to like pass on the mantle permanently at some point? I don't know. That's the stuff that bugged me. All right, let's talk about Ruby Rose for a second before we move on. But I thought she was serviceable. A lot of people were taking shots at her acting. I don't think it was the acting that was so bad as much as she comes off a bit like Captain Marvel. You know, there's always that sense of she's in complete control and she knows what she's doing and she can push her weight around with anybody and not really get in trouble for it. It kind of is, you know, it's kind of like Captain Marvel. It's kind of unpleasant. I don't want to put that on Ruby Rose as much as the writing. It remains to be seen if maybe with a better writer, or if they, you know, get their footing with this character a little bit more, maybe that'll get better. But I could see that being a problem going forward in the future, depending how they handle it. But apart from that, yeah, she was pretty good. She was pretty good. With the right writing, I think she could be good. So at the end of the day, it's basically trademark CW superhero fare. It's capes and cowls matched with angsty romance drama. She's pining after her girlfriend from the army, and she ends up being with another man at the end of the show, at the end of the episode, which is probably going to set up, you know, all the angst and the longing and the this and the that CW is known for. So it's not really breaking any new ground. The time will tell, I think, whether the show will... You know, I like to give a show 6 to 9 episodes to really see where it's going. I think if you don't know where you're going by 6 episodes, you know, it's a problem. But right now, let them find their footing. And, you know, it's decent. Let's put it that way. I don't think it's this treachy mess that I was expecting. But at the same time, they do have a ways to go to kind of cement what they want to do with this show. Is she just going to be Batman with a wig? I don't know. She didn't get the wig yet, by the way. I don't think that comes until episode 3, from what I heard. But, yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below about Batwoman. Did you think it was up to snuff, or was it lacking? To me, it was just it was kind of in the middle. You know what I mean? It was it had all those hallmarks of a Mary Sue type story, but I don't think it really I don't really think it got mired down by that yet. So we'll see how it goes. All right, let's see. Let's get into some of these stories here. Oh, we've got Dick Pic. Here we go. Dick Grayson has been spotted on the set of Crisis on Infinite Earths. That's right. I almost said of. But there he is, Dick Grayson Esquire. And the only dick pic you'll ever see here on Johnnie Torch Live. But a lot of people are speculating he is there with Ace the Bat Hound. Of course, you know, Bruce, Bert and his wife Tracy, I believe is her name. They run a website for, and I should have looked this up, for taking care of animals and pets, I think for purposes of adoption. So you want to check him out on Twitter, I think. Again, I don't know the specifics of the website or the Twitter handle, but if you check out Burt Ward, I'm sure you'll find it out. But this is pretty exciting. A lot of people are saying, yeah, he's wearing a Robin-esque type shirt, sweater, I don't know what that would be. And so this, you know, we don't know for a fact yet if he's playing Dick Grayson. I don't know if they've actually confirmed that, but it would seem to be the case. His hair looks like it's nice and and Robin-esque, you know, the jet black Robin hairdo. So this is pretty exciting. I mean, I love the Adam West Batman. That was, you know, one of the first things. I think that's one of the first things we all see as a kid from comics is the Adam West Batman. And unfortunately, of course, Adam no longer with us, but, you know, we'll still have Dick Grayson in the talent of Burt Ward making the scene. I think he's supposed to also show up on Batwoman as a recurring character, I think. I'm not sure. But if he's playing the same character, playing an Elseworlds, you know, Dick Grayson, that would be interesting. I don't know how they would handle that. So I mean, I would imagine that he's playing two different characters, because if they want to say that he's from a different Earth and that the merging of the Earths, he would be, you know, a different Dick Grayson, that'd be one thing. But I don't know how they would ever talk about Dick Grayson on the show, you know, given the fact that, yeah. All right, so let me know what you think about Dick Grayson on Crisis on Infinite Earths / possibly Batwoman. All right, here's a little something. I found this because I've been complaining about the treatment of the Hulk in the MCU for a long time. So a little interview came out with Ed Norton. I really like The Incredible Hulk. I think that was a fantastic movie. I think, honestly, it only scratched the surface of what you can do in a Hulk movie. And there really was so much potential going forward. But, of course, the sale to Disney, Marvel Studios sold to Disney, and Disney wasn't willing to play ball with Universal, who has the distribution rights. And I don't know why they can't work out a deal. If they can work out a deal with Sony and work out a deal to buy Fox, why can't they work out a deal with Universal to give us some decent Hulk movies? Maybe Universal plays more hardball than the rest of them. I don't know. But anyway, would that would have continued on. Ed Norton, of course, you know, bowed out. And the MCU kind of treated him harshly. Let's put it that way. And I found an interview with him here from I don't know if it was a couple of weeks ago, a couple of days ago, where he talks about the possibilities of what he was intending for a Hulk franchise. So let's see what he says here. Incredible Hulk star Edward Norton has talked about what he'd planned for the franchise when he first signed on to play Bruce Banner. Apparently, the actor pitched not one, but 2 films, and they would have been a lot darker and grittier than what we ended up getting back in 2008. All right, time out for a second here, time out. Now, as much as I enjoyed Edward Norton as Banner, and I think he was better than Mark Ruffalo, I don't think darker and grittier is what I wanted to see from the Hulk. I don't like darker and grittier when it comes to any comic book movie. Now, a lot of people want to poo-poo the MCU because it's too bright and vibrant and what have you, but it is pretty much representing comics. That's what a comic is supposed to be. It's a fun adventure, you know, for all ages, and you know, you can have a storyline that's darker than others, but generally they're pretty consistent in tone. You know, you don't have, I mean, there are some characters, of course, who are darker than others, but I mean, you don't have Spider-Man doing the dark and gritty thing issue after issue after issue. You have the night Gwen Stacy died, and then you kind of work off that and go back to some lighthearted stuff. I mean, it's not like, you know, like the Punisher would be like maybe a dark character all the way through. But for the most part, the MCU reflects what the or I should say what the Marvel characters have been known for. So I don't know that this would have been a good idea to try to make it darker and what have you. Alright, let's see. Norton says, I laid out a 2-film thing. The origin, and then the idea of Hulk as the conscious dreamer. The guy who can handle the trip. And they were like, that's what we want. As it turned out, that wasn't what they wanted. Now, again, let me stop for a second here. I'm not sure if I can understand this. The conscious dreamer. What the heck does that mean? I don't know. If you have any explanation to that for me, leave it in the comments below. The conscious dreamer. I guess he was always, I don't know, he could handle the trip. I don't know. He was always spacing out, and I don't know. I have no idea what that means. Let's see. That would explain why things ended the way they did with Bruce gaining control over the Hulk. And after admitting that he had a great time working on the movie, Norton said he also got on well with Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige until he released a statement saying they wanted an actor who embodies the creativity and collaborative spirit of our other talented cast members. Norton said, yeah, that was cheap. It was brand defensiveness or something. Ultimately, they weren't going for long, dark, and serious, but it doesn't matter. We had positive discussions about going on with the films, and we looked at the amount of time that would have taken, and I wasn't going to do that. I honestly would have wanted more money than they'd have wanted to pay me, but that's not why I would have wanted to do another Hulk movie. So, I don't know. I don't know. It looks like a combination of a lot of things that really made them part ways. I mean, he's already saying he wanted a lot of money, and probably would have been more than what Marvel wanted to pay, because even back in that day, they were, you know, they parted ways with the Rhodey actor there, Terrence Howard. So, I don't know. I mean, when you get Norton, you kind of know what you're getting. He's he's a hands-on guy. So for them to like court him and then be like, well, yeah, you're exactly what we want, and then to sort of like switch lanes, it is strange. I really don't know how that falling out occurred, but it doesn't seem like he wanted to be a long-term member of the MCU anyway. So I don't know. I mean, maybe this is much ado about nothing. This is probably just like I think a bad fit, a bad combination between what they wanted and what he wanted, and how long he wanted to be with the project. I don't know. Let's see. Norton also maintains he never clashed with Feige during production, despite claims to the contrary. I'm saying that Kevin had an idea of a thing that you could do, and it was remarkable. Now, it didn't happen to be on a tonal, thematic level what I wanted to spend my time doing. Alright, so there you have it. So, again, I'm disappointed in what happened with the Hulk during the MCU. I think they kind of gradually missed the purpose of the Hulk. They started out nobly with the Incredible Hulk. Then they did a pretty decent transition with Avengers. Then he like flatlined for like, Age of Ultron, and then they kind of had a blip in the right direction with Ragnarok, and then he just tanked after that. I don't know what they were thinking. I guess they kind of had a plan for him going into Infinity War / Endgame, but I don't know. I mean, it just turned into him being Professor Hulk and just a geek. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I honestly, I don't know how they could have changed it beyond maybe making Hulk the loner that I wish he was. That's what he started out being. And they kind of tried to make him a team player, a superhero. The Hulk should always be hounded. The Hulk should not be a team player. I mean, for long term, yeah, sure, put him in Avengers, you know, especially in Endgame where everybody's rallying, you know, sure, that's fine. I don't really see him, you know, being a team player. I don't see him, you know, being the face of the Avengers. You know, I don't get it. It's like he's supposed to be hounded, he's supposed to be hunted, he's supposed to be haunted. You know, Bruce Banner's haunted and struggling to you know, keep up his relationship with Betty, which they completely ditched Liv Tyler, who I thought was pretty good. She was good as Betty, and they just never went back to her. They played with putting Ross back into the franchise, General Ross, but apart from that, they made The Incredible Hulk pretty much a thinly tethered film to the franchise, which I'm disappointed in. Oh well. What might have been. Let me know what you think in the comments below. We've got another, let's see, a little story here about He-Man, which I'm hoping that the Masters of the Universe movie actually gets made. It doesn't seem like it's going to from the sound of it, but that's kind of par for the course. Let's see. It appears that Masters of the Universe reboot won't even see the inside of a theater. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Sony Pictures is mulling over a number of options for the movie that is supposed to be released in 2021. Noah Centineo was attached to play He-Man, but his involvement is now uncertain, and the rest of the cast is yet to be filled. As a result, cameras obviously haven't started rolling, but the studio is now considering whether to find a studio or financier to help with the cost of the project, as they really can't afford another big loss after this year's Men in Black International. So, the pain and anguish that Masters of the Universe fans have been going through waiting for another He-Man movie since 1987, when one Dolph Lundgren took the center stage. It looks like it'll continue. It looks like it's going to carry on. Well, I don't know. He-Man does not have the power right now, anyway, for big budget movies. Alright, moving on here. Yeah, that's the way I felt about it too. Yeah, we're still going to talk about Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey, we got a little snippet here of Ewan McGregor talking about Birds of Prey. Let me see here. Yeah, I don't know who he spoke to about this. Let's see. I don't see in the copy where it says, but Ewan McGregor shed some details on what to expect from the Birds of Prey movie. What interested me with Birds of Prey is that it's a feminist film. It is very finely written. There is in the script a real look at misogyny, and I think we need that. We need to be more aware of how we behave with the opposite sex. We need to be taught to change. Misogynists in movies are often extreme. They rape, they beat women, and it is legitimate to represent people like that, because they exist, and they are obviously the worst. But in the Birds of Prey dialogues, there is always a hint of everyday misogyny, of those things you say as a man you do not even realize, mansplaining, and it's in the script in a very subtle way. I found that brilliant. Alright, so a lot of, a lot of people are up in arms yet again about how it looks like the SJWs are going to make this as woke as possible. To his defense, Ewan says that it's very subtle, but does anybody really think it's going to be subtle? Does anybody think it's going to be subtle? I don't know. I don't think so. Again, we've gone over this for like the past 3 weeks, but Birds of Prey looks like a disaster on wheels. I mean, as I said, I gave it actually, listening back to last week's show, I think I gave the trailer a lot better of a review than even I expected, because it looks like I said though, it looks like if they'd strip away the pretense that it's a Birds of Prey movie and just have it be a Harley Quinn movie, actually looks pretty good. But look what they've done to Black Mask. Look what they've done to Black Mask. Look what they've done to the Birds of Prey themselves, Black Canary, Huntress, et al. I don't know. I don't hold out any hope for this film, really. And I'm probably not going to see it in theaters. I'd like to know what you guys think. What are your thoughts on this? Will the Birds of Prey movie be the disaster that most of us are expecting it to be? Is it going to be Ghostbusters 2016 all over again? Is that what we're leading up to? Is it going to be just woke as all get out? Yeah, probably. And I think, like I said, I think my reaction is pretty much the same as Ewan's right here. Again, a gay, flamboyant Black Mask. That pretty much says it all right there, I think, what to expect with this film. It's... I don't know. Alright, so we'll move on. We'll move on here. I don't really feel like talking about Birds of Prey anymore. I've had enough of it. I honestly have had enough. I get on my soapbox enough times with race changing and, you know, gender changing and orientation changing or whatever it is. I mean, I could go off on that tangent again at the drop of a hat. I'm going to spare yous this week. I'm going to spare yous. So you can listen to any number of the last dozen broadcasts I've done for that. But like I said, I'm on a bit of a time crunch. We gotta move on. We're gonna take a look at some of the Suicide Squad photos for Suicide Squad 2. And I'm not calling it the Suicide Squad. I don't care what James Gunn says. This is Suicide Squad 2. We got some on-set photos. The show is about to begin. The movie, I guess I should say, is about to shoot. I have Jai Courtney here as Captain Boomerang. And I like the boomerangs there, but they honestly didn't do much to improve his costume. I was kind of hoping he would get a decent costume. Now, I know there's the Captain Boomerang traditional costume, where he has on, like, that Twinkie hat and the pirate boots and the, I don't know, like a cardigan sweater or something. Is that the DC version of Captain Boomerang, or is that the Marvel one I'm thinking of? I think they both have one, don't they? I'm not sure. I think they do. But he kind of still looks like a sterno bum here, doesn't he? I swear. He looks like the guy that, you know, when you're passing by the bar at like 2 in the morning, he like comes out and he's asking for a cigarette and, you know, a couple of bucks, you know, for a ride home. You know, that's what he looks like. I mean, that's to take nothing away from Courtney, who I thought was actually really good as this character in Suicide Squad. I thought he was one of the more fun characters. But it's like, you know, he looks like he sleeps in his car, you know what I mean? I mean, where's the flash? Where's the panache, you know what I mean? The flair. Give me a little something here that looks like a comic book. And voila, they have given us some characters here that looks like they're from the comic book, though, with these other characters that we've caught a snap of here in the film. Now, let me see. I don't think there has been names assigned to these characters, but let's see. The actors featured in the photos, which you can view at Just Jared. I think that's Just Jared. I don't know. I'll see if I can see it there. Include returning star Jai Courtney, Captain Boomerang. We got him on the side there. Along with new castmates, Nathan Fillion. This is interesting. I don't know. Fillion, who might be playing Arm Fall Off Boy. I have no idea who that is. I have to admit, I've never heard of Arm Fall Off Boy, who can detach his limbs at will. That sounds like an interesting character. I don't know. Is that who this blonde guy is supposed to be? I don't know. Or Blackguard, who can create weapons out of pure energy. Let's see. Pete Davidson might be Savant, skilled in hand-to-hand combat. Flua Borg appears to be Javelin, uses a giant javelin. And Mei Ling Ng, I don't know how to pronounce that. There's no vowels. If you have no vowels in your name, I don't know how you want me to pronounce that. But NG, Mei Ling NG, appears to be playing Mongol, a superpowered alien. And that's not Mongol the Conqueror, right? You know, the Mongol from that's one of DC's heavy hitters. Hopefully they didn't gender change him. But again, these look pretty good. Sean Gunn's character, is unknown, but recent rumors claim he's Weasel. So that'd be interesting. That'd be interesting. We got some more images here. Let me take a look at a couple more. Again, I don't know who they are. It's your guess is as good as mine. Let's see. It's a guy with a skull and crossbones and a green suit. Not sure. Let me see. No, wait a minute, wrong one. Here's a shot of all of them. The guy in the motion capture suit there, is that Sean Gunn? I'm not sure. He's probably going to be the full CGI character. Not sure who the blonde guy is with all the guns. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't really know a lot about Suicide Squad characters, so your guess is as good as mine, but hey, enjoy. And if you have any ideas who you think these characters are, let me know in the comments below. Yeah, I think that's all the photos I got. Let's see. Alright, so we will carry on here with, let's see, Dove Cameron. Oh yes, oh Dove. Everything all right there, Dove? Everything all right, Dovey? I gotta find my notes. So we'll play with Dove a little bit while we're waiting. Dove was really good in Enchanted 3. My sister really likes those movies. I don't really know much about them. I've seen like half of it. I'm not like too deep into those films to know what's going on, but yeah, they look pretty cool. Alright, I found my notes. Here we go. I didn't put a big headline on it. That's why. You know, sometimes when I'm typing it out, it just, whatever. Alright, Dove Cameron, star of Disney's Descendants and Marvel Rising, has officially thrown her hat into the ring, as it were, to play the live-action version of Gwen Stacy in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yes! Yes, I say. Now, I don't know if some of you remember this, because it's been about a year, but I did a fan cast for the MCU Spider-Man, who I think should play what. And the obvious choice is Dove Cameron for Gwen Stacy. And here's Gwen, so you have the... Now, just like we were talking about last week with Alexandria Daddario being cast as Catwoman, it'll never happen. Why? Because she looks too much like the character. In this day and age, we've got to do crazy casting. We got to do stunt casting. You know, we got to have like an Asian actress play Gwen Stacy, because, you know, we can't just make her look like the character looks in the comics. That would make too much sense. We know casting, they never make sense. They don't make sense. All right, Hunter Iggy here is in the chat. Let me take a look. Johnny Torch, what is your thought on the Suicide Squad set pictures? Yeah, I guess... Yeah, we're just looking at them. I like the costumes. I think they look really, you know, they look like colorful. They look like straight from the page. That's what I want from my comic book adaptations, you know, like Aquaman. He looks like he came straight from the page, the costume. Shazam looks like it came straight from the page. So it looks like they're trying to do that. So if that's the case, I'm all for it. It might look a little corny or something, but I think once they get it on film, they set it up right, they light it right, it's going to look a lot better. But, like I said at the beginning, I said I don't like Captain Boomerang's costume. I kind of wish they would give him something a little more flashy. He still kind of just looks like a hobo. But, yeah, that's just the, that's the recap. That's the recap for the Suicide Squad. But we talked about it for like 10 minutes, so if you missed that, just back up the chat back up the stream a few minutes. You probably will see the whole thing. And thank you for joining us, Hunter. He's a faithful friend of the show. And please remember, leave a like, share, get as many more folks as you can in on the show, because you know, I love taking questions from the chat and stuff. Also, I wanted to say, like I said, we're getting more subs, and we got 97 subs. We want to get to 100 subs. So if you got a couple of friends you think would be interested in talking the news, the pop culture news, turn them on to the show, see what they think. But yeah, back to Dove Cameron as Gwen Stacy. She just is a dead ringer for Gwen Stacy. And I mean, this picture is about the closest I could find that I think looks like, you know, the classic comic look of Gwen Stacy. Now, I don't know if they're going to bring Gwen Stacy into the MCU. If they do, I really hope they go with the classic Gwen Stacy 616 version. You know, the girlfriend of Peter Parker and the whole tragic Green Goblin story. That's something we've really not seen. I mean, I know we've seen it in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and believe me, I like that film more than a lot of people do. But it wasn't done justice because we had Harry as the Goblin, and Harry looked horrible as the Goblin, and they kind of shoehorned into the last 10 minutes of the film. That's not the way to do it. I would like to see a true Night Gwen Stacy Died movie. You know, I mean, make that one of the movies going forward in the MCU. That is what I want to see. I'm sure if they do bring Gwen in, they're going to probably try to do the Gwenpool thing. I'm not sure exactly how that works because I haven't read Gwenpool. All right, wait a second. Let me see here. Hunter has got another... let's see. His Mongol daughter should be as tall as him in the Suicide Squad set photo. Okay, so that's Mongol's daughter. All right, that's cool because I didn't know if they were just like gender changing the character, because I know Mongol is, you know, a man and he's big and he's sort of like on par with Darkseid or maybe Vandal Savage, something like that. So I didn't know if they were changing that, but I guess he has a daughter, right? So yeah, that would be cool. I don't know if they're going to make her the same size as him. I mean, they might just sort of do like a Lord of the Rings thing where they are going to like maybe pull out the camera to make her, you know, CGI'd or something and make her bigger. I don't know. Again, I don't really know how they're doing that there. But again, back to Gwen Stacy. I don't know too much about Gwenpool. I don't really read the modern day stuff. I always thought it was a mistake to try to make Gwen Stacy into some other kind of character. I think there is sort of SJW politics involved with that. I think they want to try to not make Gwen Stacy the poster girl for the quote-unquote fridged girlfriend. Thank you, Gail Simone, for that terminology. And so they have to bring her back and they have to make her something humorous and whatever and this and that. And, you know, it really cheapens, I think, the original purpose of the character, which was to be a civilian. She was a civilian. That's why the whole purpose of it was that by being in love with Peter Parker, that's what put her in danger. And Captain Stacy basically entrusted her safety to Peter. And he was not able to do that. He was not able to keep her safe. And it's really sad. I mean, that's a tragedy I think that was missing in the Amazing Spider-Man franchise. They kind of made it that he was going against Captain Stacy's will. They made it that she was kind of like, she knew who he was, so she was sharing the risks. That's something you can do with Mary Jane, but Gwen didn't know the risks. She didn't know he was Spider-Man. And he struggled with telling her because she thought that Spider-Man killed her father, so he didn't know how to, you know, broach that problem, so to speak. So anyway, I am all for this. I am hoping that Dove gets the role as Gwen. She looks the part. From what I've seen of her as an actress, you know, you got to remember she was in the MCU already in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and she was really good there as well. A lot of people I've heard also are kind of put off to it thinking, well, she was already in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we can't have her in the MCU. But remember, Alfre Woodard, right? That's the actress who played Black Mariah. She was also in Civil War. And we also had, you know, a couple of other actors, like the one who played Star-Lord's mom was also in First Avenger. The guy from Agent Carter, he was also in Avengers, the first movie. So, you know, it's not really like a hard and fast rule. I think it would be different if they had like Star-Lord, you know, what's his face? Chris Pratt. If you brought Chris Pratt in and all of a sudden he's playing, you know, Cyclops or something, that's something you have to worry about. But, you know, the TV divisions are kind of separate from Marvel. All right, before we move on, though, I do have some copy here from the interview where Dove makes this known, so to speak, that she wants the Gwen Stacy role. Let's see. I would love to play Gwen Stacy. I would love to play Spider-Gwen or Ghost Spider or whatever kind of incarnation they're going to make her into. So she wants to play it no matter what. She's not, you know, she's not being choosy. She just wants to play Gwen, which is a good career move, I think, for her to get into one of these movies. I'm sure they probably would make her Spider-Gwen. I don't know. I think it's kind of dumb, but again, I don't want to repeat myself here. Let's see, Cameron makes it clear she's aware of her predecessor and wouldn't be going into the role blind. In fact, she holds an appreciation for Emma Stone, the last actress to take a shot at the live-action version of the character. Haley Steinfeld also played Spider-Gwen, but that was in the animated film, Into the Spider-Verse. I think that she's really such a great character. I mean, I love Emma Stone in the last incarnation of Gwen Stacy, but I was really honored when they asked me to voice her, and I would love a chance to audition. Regarding her hopes for the direction of the character and potentially playing alongside Holland, the actress had the following to say. I would love it if she was an equal match. I would love it if she was a physical threat, if she was quite a force. I just love playing characters for women that are not so thin, and I mean thin like emotionally. They are not so narrowly defined. I would love it if she was a bit difficult or complex, just how real girls are. So it sounds to me like you want to play Lady Thor from that. She wants to be a physical threat. I don't know. I mean, I never seen Gwen Stacy to be a physical threat. Although, you know, of course we have Gwenpool and Ghost Spider or whatever else they're doing that I don't know. I still haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse, which I do want to see it, but it's like I'm waiting for the DVD to go down. It's still like $15 or something, and I bought so many DVDs lately. Half of them I haven't watched yet. It's like, you know, but because I'm not really a Miles Morales guy, but I think it's, you know, like I said, the previews put me off when they had Spider-Man looking like such a schnook. I mean, I don't know. He doesn't seem like Spider-Man to me, and Peter Parker. I mean, that's kind of the thing. I mean, you know, I don't know. It's like, don't make Peter look like a schnook to make Miles look better. And I think that's kind of what could happen here with you have like Gwen Stacy being, you know, a superhero or something. You can't make her look better than Spider-Man. You know, the movie's called Spider-Man. I don't know. You take a sip of H2O. All right, we'll move on here now to, let's see. We're rounding down here. Is this our last story? Yeah, I think this is our last story. Wow, wrapping it up already. Okay. All right, so speaking of actors wanting to go on to the bigger and better, in an interview, Jacob Batalon, who played Ned Leeds in the MCU Spider-Man franchise, explained his hopes for the future of his character when he talked about the Hobgoblin. Batalon mentioned, "That just further validates my theory of Ned becoming Hobgoblin, but hey, but it'd be so great if they're not going to want me to die. I hope they're going to want me to stay on and be part of the Sinister Six. That's just my theory." It sounds like this snippet was taken from another interview where I don't know what he's talking about. That further validates his theory. I don't know what that means. But apparently he wants to be he wants to be the Hobgoblin, and he wants to be the leader of the Sinister Six. My reaction to that was basically oh man, I don't want to laugh with diversion. I don't want to be derisive, if that is the correct term, but I don't see you being the Hobgoblin or leading the Sinister Six, quite frankly, Jacob. Now, I don't want to be unkind by any means, of course, but I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. If it does happen, it'll probably take the place of the Green Goblin in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 as the worst version of the Green Goblin. What are they going to do with him? I don't know. Is he going to stay the best friend? I don't know. I mean, that seemed like what the plan was. In the comics, Ned Leeds wasn't the final Hobgoblin. He was sort of a red herring, and then it became Roderick Kingsley, I think, was the last one. I think there was like 3 of them, because it was a long, complex story where they kind of try to drag it out as long as possible. I think Tom DeFalco, I forget, that's a good story to try to get into, the behind the scenes. I think he was the one that started it, and I don't know, he dropped the ball somewhere. Somebody else picked it up and ran with it. I think maybe it was, oh man, who was it that finally wrapped up that storyline? I think, DeMatteis, was it him? I think he had part in it too. It's like everybody put their hands on that Hobgoblin storyline. I don't know. It was like they bounced it around from person to person. I think it might have been Ralph Macchio. Ralph Macchio, I think, might have wrapped it up too. I don't know. But one way or the other, I don't know. Do you want to see Ned Leeds become the Hobgoblin in the MCU? I could do without that, I think. I think I'll be alright without that. I'm good. Yeah, I'm good, I think. Alright, so again, let me just take a look at my notes. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's about it. We got everything handled here that needed to be handled in a timely manner. So thank you once again for joining me here for the only way to spend your Saturday here with us on Johnny Torch Live, where we bring you the news and pop culture, the best news out there. Of course, like I said, there was a couple of other things that we'll talk about next time, because didn't have the time today. Got to wrap it up here and be on the road. But thank you to Hunter Iggy once again for supporting us in the chat. If you have any other questions, be sure to let me know in the comments below. Again, I don't know. I would like to do more than one video a week. There really isn't a whole lot to talk about that would facilitate that. That's the reason why. Now, you know, just a lot of stuff happening. I'm really busy working on the book, so just to I mean, I have a couple ideas of what I want to do, and it's like, I'm like, well, that's fine, but would I rather be working on the book? You know, it's like, you know, I got to get that book done and move on to the first remaster so that I can, you know, finally get to the future stories, the further adventures of Bullets Bourbon. So I try to spend as much time as I can on the writing right now, on the proofreading, and that is where I will be. Okay, so until next we meet, make sure you hit that like button, share, and subscribe. Check out the link in the description below so that you can follow me on Twitter. Make sure you are checking out the Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye, the long-awaited series from yours truly, Johnny Torch, which takes the down-on-his-luck Private Eye, the titular protagonist, and pits him up against the most colorful collection of villains imaginable, including Carrot Top, the nefarious evil mastermind, who's bent on world domination. We have the mad as a March hare Pencil Neck, who makes his enemies disappear. And a whole other slew of friends and foes, including Sour Note, the murderous maestro, who has ill intent for Desiree Miller, Bullet's infatuated, the object of his affection. Let's put it that way. And of course, the humorous and sardonic Detective Horatio T. Scotch, as you see on the right of the screen. Lots of fun, and looking forward to continuing on the saga as soon as possible. So, until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.